right, Donald Trump making a return to what was once his favorite social media platform last night. He was interviewed by Elon Musk, streamed live on X, formerly Twitter. And while it started out with a delay due to tech issues, Trump wasted no time sounding off about his political opponent, Kamala Harris.
Look,
Yeah.
she hasn't done an
I mean,
interview since this
yeah.
whole scam started. And say what you want, this
Yeah.
was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice
Yeah.
way or we can do it the
No.
hard way.
In the 2-hour-long chat with the tech entrepreneur, Trump insulted Harris several times, calling her third-rate, incompetent, and a radical left lunatic. Trump had been leading Biden in many polls in battleground states, but is now trailing Harris in some of those same states. Many listeners noted that at times Trump's speech sounded slurred. His campaign team has not responded to a request for comment on the way Trump was speaking. So the interview itself got off to a rocky start with people unable to join the audio conversation. 18 minutes into what was supposed to be the start of the interview, Musk said that the platform was under a cyber attack. That hasn't been confirmed. Prior to the interview, Trump resumed posting to X for the first time in a long time. Trump's access to his account was reinstated a month after Musk took ownership of the site. He had been suspended by the platform's previous owners in the aftermath of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. All right, joining me now to discuss is Eric Ham. He is our CTV News political analyst. First of all, why do you think, Eric, Trump wanted to go back on Twitter or X?
I think the reason Donald Trump did this is because this gave him a wider, larger platform. And I think he saw it as an opportunity to blunt that momentum that we're continuing to see with the Harris-Walz campaign. As you already mentioned, Donald Trump was actually leading Joe Biden in the polls. And we have seen just in a 3-week period, a monumental shift, a shift of about 12 to 15 points, where now in many cases, Kamala Harris is actually leading. And so I think Donald Trump saw this as an opportunity to win the news cycle, but also try to actually win back many of those supporters and regain the lead in the polls.
It got off to a rough start. It was about 40 minutes late due to tech issues. The same thing happened when Governor Ron DeSantis, was being interviewed by Elon Musk. Have we learned why this happened, Eric? There's a lot of speculation, a lot of theories.
No, we have not. And it seems as though you're right. And also, too, that rollout with Ron DeSantis was seen as a harbinger of what was to come for Ron DeSantis's flailing campaign. And of course, many are wondering what this will mean for Donald Trump as he continues to struggle to find a way to actually regain the momentum from Kamala Harris. But I don't think we learned anything new from either Donald Trump or Elon Musk in this interview. And while I think it will be discussed quite a bit over the next coming days, I think it will do very little to blunt or dent Kamala Harris's growing momentum, especially as she heads into the Democratic convention in Chicago next week.
And to that point, he sort of rhymed off his usual list of insults about Kamala Harris and mispronounced her name. Although he did come up with a new take on her name last night in one clip where he talked about her cover on Time magazine. We're going to play that sound. We're going to look at the picture, and then I'll come back and get your thoughts on it. Here's what he said.
It was a drawing, and actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that.
Camilla. All right. So, Eric, what did you make of that? Is that really going to matter to voters when he continues to insult Kamala Harris like that? And now we've got the cover of Time magazine. Clearly, she's continuing to get a lot of attention, and Trump is saying she's getting a free ride.
You know, I thought it was very striking because we know Donald Trump is a vain man, and we know that he does certainly shares his opinions on the looks of women. And I thought it was very surprising that we heard that complimentary praise from him about Kamala Harris and her appearance, comparing her to his wife, Melania Trump. So I think there was that. Is that going to soften his image with those key suburban women voters that he's going to need? I don't think so. But I do believe, again, what we're seeing here is someone who I think is greatly threatened by Kamala Harris and this rise that we're continuing to see. And he's really going after her, pushing that she's getting a free ride from the press. She's not engaged with the press. And I think, again, what Donald Trump is trying to do, even with this interview with Elon Musk, is show the contrast, how he's willing to sit for interviews. He's willing to engage the press where she is not. And I think he's hoping that's going to actually gain him some support back in the polls. We just haven't seen the breakthrough yet.
No. And lastly then, Eric, did you think at times that he sounded as though he was slurring, that he was having trouble articulating his thoughts?
I did, and I do. And I think that is something that if the press, they're going to be, I think, careful and clear in their coverage of Donald Trump. I think given his age and, of course, the age of Joe Biden, I think these are questions that need to be asked of the campaign and of Donald Trump himself in terms of his health and well-being going forward.
Eric Ham, he is our CTV News political analyst. Eric, thank you so much.